Welcome. You're listening to the Best of Investing on News Talk 910. You know our show. It's where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. And since we have a few new listeners, we have lots of new listeners. Here's our format. A few guys sitting around a bar talking business with you, the audience, listening in. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm delighted to have as my co-host Mark Hunt of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Brian Burke of Praxis Capital. You like the way I say that? Fastest.
It is, and it's true.
It's true. You're growing leaps and bounds.
We're on fire.
Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. The vacations are sponsored by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, which is located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. The vacations are free. Their only request, a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. You can reach them at 916-777-5511. And today's trivia theme is exciting finishes in sports, Brian's favorite subject. Ooh. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. And World Wraps in Corte Madera and Santa Clara is still giving our listeners a free smoothie with purchase of a wrapper bowl. If you mention the Best of Investing, go there for lunch today. Best Wraps in town. Don't forget to mention Best of Investing for your free smoothie. And one of the reasons I have this trivia theme of exciting finishes in sports is because we have a very special guest, a very good friend of mine, Paul Kingsman, who is the 1988 bronze medal winner in the 1988 swimming Olympics in the backstroke. And if you go on his website, which is still active, Paul Kingsman, very active. Okay, Paul like that. PaulKingsman.com. You can see one of the most exciting swimming races to me of all time. Okay, and Paul.
Yes.
Give us I've heard this story a few times, and so has Mark, but it gets better and better each time, and it's been a little over a year since you've been with us, and we have a lot of new listeners, so give us the story.
The story behind the medal?
Yeah.
Well, it was 13 years of training for a 2-minute event, and I ended up winning a bronze medal by 4/100ths of a second. So it's a long time to train, and I hit my goal time of 2 minutes, and ended up winning that by a fraction of a second.
Well, let me ask you, if you would have known that it was 13 years for 4/10ths of a second, 4/100ths of a second, would you still done it?
For a gold medal.
For a gold medal, not for a bronze.
yeah. I'd do it all again for gold medal.
Well,
I'd do anything for gold medal.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard that. I've heard that. A lot of people do anything for the gold.
Well, some do, and some get caught.
Some get caught.
Yeah,
right.
No, but there was actually a question that they asked Olympic athletes. They said, if we could guarantee you a gold medal, but you were going to die, like within 2 weeks after, would you still want it? And they said yes.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things with a silver medalist, I've heard people say, well, silver medalist is really the first loser. So third place is actually better than second.
That's what I've heard.
That's what I believe.
Go big or go home, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, 4/100ths of a second, that almost sounds like the margin of error. I always wonder about that, and how accurate are the start versus finish times in something like swimming. You got water, and you got all kinds of stuff going on.
Good question, because that's why they can't go down to the 1,000th of a second, because of the margin of error in pool construction. In 1984, we had a dead heat in the first event, the women's 100 freestyle at the LA Olympics. They can only take it out to the 100th. If they went out to the 1,000th, they would actually see a difference. But because of even disparities in engineering, they can calibrate the length and everything, but they cannot take the times to the 1,000th, although they know them.
Well, you hear all the steroid type stuff, right? Well, the next thing's going to be someone's going to get in the pool with a hammer and chisel out part of the pool, make it a little bit longer.
Right.
That'll be in Australia. New Zealand,
You watch. Are they notorious for that?
Oh, Australians are notorious for all bad stuff.
Really?
But I'm a New Zealander, so.
Oh, that's right.
So take my word for it.
Yeah, exactly. Not the Aussie, but the Kiwis.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure, Mark, what question you want to ask?
Paul, what are you doing with yourself today now that you did that? I mean, the 13 years training, and where did that lead you to post-Olympics?
Sure. Well, I'm speaking a lot to corporate groups, mainly in the financial services world, which I got into when I came back to the US at Morgan Stanley to start with. So doing corporate speaking, and also working with a small wealth management group called Taddy Ludwig. And it's because of that perspective of knowing the importance of having a long-term plan and how to stick with it. And as you said, I did that for 13 years, and it's the same with finance today as far as setting goals and objectives and having somebody to track, help you track.
Well, I think one of the things that you've talked about is distraction, as I remember. And if you give us a little story about the distraction of the fourth place finisher, I think that'll.
And I never noticed that. In fact, I was talking to a group earlier this week, and never noticed what was the cause of that until several years ago, and saw the guy that came fourth on the last couple of strokes actually turn and looked at me. And if he hadn't have looked at me again, he would have come in ahead of me. But he looked once and saw me, and that was enough of a distraction to look again.
Did you smile at him?
No.
Stick your tongue out? No?
You never look for the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, you just never look for the wall. But he did, and in that split second, we were only 4 meters away from finishing. In that split second, a lot changed. So, oftentimes when I'm showing the video, people are like, "Oh no," it's like, "What are you feeling sorry for him for?" It kind of changed lives, but that's what life's like. You can't get distracted.
You can't take your eye off the ball, or in this case, take your eye off the pool.
Off the wall.
yeah, off the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if he's gone through. He hasn't committed suicide or anything.
No, a number of people have asked me if we ever spoke, and we never did, because they take the 3 medalists away. They take the other 5 guys out the other side, so we never had a chance to talk.
Yeah.
And depending on what country those losers are from, they might get beaten up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or killed. I remember in
Isn't that
Colombia,
amazing?
soccer. That guy accidentally kicked a goal in his own, kicked it in his own goal, and suddenly he disappeared.
Yeah, it's serious business.
Wow. Okay, now I love some of these stories, and I know the audience will enjoy these too. Now, remember, Paul comes from New Zealand, and so winning a medal in New Zealand, you're kind of a national hero. It's
a big deal.
Okay, tell us a story about when you didn't have your ID.
This was in. This was in the jogging. Right. So I was in a small clothing store in the middle of nowhere, which in New Zealand isn't hard to find. And so I bought a pair of jeans. Did not have any ID.
This was after the Olympics.
This was after the Olympics. Yeah. In fact, this was after the Olympics, and right before it was called the Commonwealth Games, and we had done a jockey campaign. They had 8 athletes, including a couple of All Blacks, do a jockey poster campaign that was very successful for them. And so we were done as centerfolds wearing jockey, one at a time. And so I bought these jeans from the store and didn't have any ID. And the lady said to me, "We need to see ID because you can't leave here unless you're paying for it. If you're paying for it with a credit card, we need to see photo ID." I said, "I'm really sorry, I don't have any ID on me." But then noticed behind her was actually the centerfold of me, which a lot of clothing stores had used to promote jockey.
There's your photo ID. Right?
There's my photo ID,
Exactly.
and more details than what this young lady even wanted to.
So I assume your driver's license didn't have all that centerfold.
No, it didn't.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
No, you didn't have to unfold it. You could just, But yeah, I got the jeans, and no problem. We both went bright red, but at that stage, I needed a pair of jeans. So.
Apparently, you needed it at the time you took that photograph.
Yeah.
And does your wife like to see you in that picture anymore?
Yeah. Well, it's a long time ago.
Probably still in her wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we're going to come to our first commercial break. We're in the studio here with a good friend of mine, Paul Kingsman, 1988 bronze medal winner in the backstroke for the country of New Zealand. And here's our first trivia question, and again, it's exciting finishes in sports. Joe Carter, who, by the way, I met, who was a very nice guy, still built like a steamroller, there we go. Joe Carter hit one of the most dramatic walk-off home runs in World Series history in 1993. Who was the pitcher? That's the question. Who was the guy who gave up the pitch? The first 3 callers with the correct answer are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Joe Carter hit one of the most dramatic walk-off home runs in World Series history in 1993. Who was the pitcher? 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, your address, your email address, and speak slowly and spell out each letter of your email, please. And we will be right back.
Did you ask that one before in the
This
previous-
question?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I'm not trying to
No,
remember.
try not to.
Well, I know because we're kind of. I know you were going to do the Joe Montana one again, though, right?
That's the one.
That's the one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
I
Oh yeah.
Well, here's the
I was
funny
like
thing.
Gaylord Perry, I don't know, I'm just gonna scratch it for.
We had.
Who was the pitcher? I'm gonna wait.
You got. You
I
got.
know, I don't.
You gotta call in.
You gotta call in, that's right.
I'm calling, yeah.
Call in tomorrow to find out.
That's right.
Or watch the YouTube posting about 2 hours before the show and be prepared to call in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Of course, you won't know after I say it now. You have to wait, right?
So is this hearing tomorrow?
It's airing tomorrow.
Right.
What are we getting into part 2? More questions from Paul?
Yeah, I'd like to do that if we could. Because we want to go through the Commonwealth Games
Sure.
instead. What happened there?
Yeah.
Because when I get into this second question,
Mhm.
that's when you're going to give that answer,
Got
right?
it.
So it was Paul was just awesome. It was so funny. Without missing a beat after Brian will get it when we go through this. Okay. And then anything else specific that you wanted to get into too?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind asking you about, how you got into public speaking.
Sure.
How
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
because I'm starting that myself, and I'm finding it a real challenge.
Yeah.
How do I prep and memorize?
Yeah.
If I'm improving.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Very eloquent when I'm reading from my notes.
Even that I have a problem with. Okay. You guys ready?
Mhm.
So now I'll get into the ask.
Yeah,
about the
absolutely.
Commonwealth Games. Okay. All right. Very sad story. Okay, here we go. Well, welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt of Pacific Private Money and Brian Burke of Praxis Capital. And we're also in the studio here with Paul Kingsman, a good friend of mine. And when we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Joe Carter hit one of the most dramatic walk-off home runs in World Series history in 1993. Who was the pitcher? Anybody?
Blank stares.
Mitch Wild Thing Williams. Mitch Williams.
Oh, the wild thing, yeah.
Yeah, for the Phillies.
That's right.
Okay. I think that's probably where they get from Major League Wild Thing.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I was thinking of, wild
Yeah.
thing from the movie Major League.
Charlie
That's right.
Sheen.
Charlie Sheen, exactly. Okay, Paul, tell
Definitely
us
Wild
of
Thing.
now. Okay, now you had really now he's really wild there.
Yeah.
Okay, in life. Okay, so it was very exciting, dramatic, in a good way, the Olympics. Now take us 2 years later, where it's a little bit more of a sadder story with the Commonwealth Games. Sorry to put you on the spot like this and bring up these memories, but hey,
That's
gotta
okay.
make good radio.
Are there tissues around?
Yes, there are.
No, we had the Commonwealth Games 2 years later, and because of my swim in 1988, I was very well known in the country. Had 3 TV commercials going at the time, and no one had come near my time. But I'd been distracted, had gotten distracted. And relative to what I speak about on distractions, it's often the obvious things that sound good that can be the biggest distractions. And so made 3 TV commercials, went traveling around a lot, promoting the bank I had done those for, but it was a deviation from what got us there in 1988, and I paid a price. I swam the heat in the morning and came back that night, and all through the day knew I was in trouble. Things just didn't feel great in the morning. I was walking into the pool that night actually and had a lady come up to me and tell me how much she'd saved because they could only afford 3 tickets to come and watch, and they were coming to watch me win gold and coming to watch me perform for New Zealand.
Because remember,
Coming
it was,
to hear the anthem.
I don't think the audience knows this, is that the Commonwealth Games were actually held in New Zealand.
Commonwealth Games were held
that
not
year.
only in New Zealand, they were held in my hometown, about
No
5
pressure.
minutes from where,
Yeah, right.
from where I live. So yeah, no pressure at all.
Very
So
convenient,
they
though.
were very keen to see a gold medal, and I came second. And a Canadian came in ahead of me. And he
Darn
connected
Canadians.
with, I know, and he comes back to me on LinkedIn about 4 months ago. And,
Oh, really?
and I assumed he wanted to be friends or whatever. And, I'm
Did
still
you
trying
ask
to
him?
find.
Did you ask him for that?
No,
Maybe
I'm
just
trying
wanted
to
to
find
rip
his.
you again.
I'm trying to find his address.
I want my gold medal.
I got a really good baseball bat.
It's just time for a rematch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I came second that night, and it was a tough one.
But what was the big distraction? Because wasn't the Super Bowl going on at the time?
We had Super Bowl that day, and I can admit this now because I'm older and we all make dumb mistakes. But got into watching that day. I was because coming from Cal, 49ers were big news, and I was a 49er fan, and instead of resting, which I always did, especially in major meets between heats and finals, decided to just relax and watch the 49ers play instead of rest.
Yeah, it's not too resting. I mean, there's too much excitement going on for 49ers.
Oh, it was a great game. Yeah, I can't remember how many that won at that stage, but yeah, it was a great game, and it was a way of having. It was just a way of feeling connected to the guys that I knew up here at Cal, and yeah, it was February 1990.
And Mark, you wanted to ask about the
Yeah,
public
so
speaking.
Paul, you go into public speaking after that, and this is more of a question that I'm curious of, because I'm starting to do public speaking myself,
Yep.
and I'm finding it a little bit challenging on the preparation side. What did you do to prep yourself when you got into public speaking? How did you?
Yeah, that's a good
how'd you do
question,
that?
because typically what people will do is they'll watch people, and I've watched a lot of people, and still do, because you always learn from them. They'll watch people like Steve Jobs, and they'll always say, gosh, they make it look so easy, but it's actually from practicing. They practice and practice, and there are certain lines that you're looking to bring out in a relaxed, spontaneous looking way. And people will often say, yeah, I mean, you're so natural. It's like, it takes a lot of work. But one of the tougher things is the entry barriers to speaking is low, as far as anybody can get up there, and so there's a lot of clutter out there. So it's finding those, the key things that people are wanting to hear about, and then a very simple structure in the talk.
Well, it's funny because most people said they'd rather die.
Yeah.
Yeah,
than
than
actually
speak
be public.
publicly, right.
Speaking
Yeah.
publicly and wearing Speedos, two of the top three things that I've
Come
done.
on.
True. I've done
Are
them both.
you serious?
Yeah, apparently that's the case.
Well, it's interesting when you're talking about preparation for public speaking, because that's something that I've always, I've been doing some of this myself lately too, Mark, and what I've read and what I've learned and I've found to be true is that you actually start practicing for your speech when you're born, and your whole life events all culminate into making that speech. So all of the things that you did when you went to the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games and all that give you material to use in your public speaking, because it comes across so much more naturally when you're drawing from your own personal experiences,
your life
wouldn't you
story,
say?
Yeah, that's right. And it's got to be valuable to the audience, though. A lot of people will stand up there and they'll just rattle off a load of things that they've done.
Right.
It's got to be relatable to the audience. They're sitting there thinking, so what? And you've got to be answering that question with content.
And so it's not necessarily that the content needs to directly relate to the topic, but you need to know how to relate your story to the topic and connect the dots for them.
Absolutely.
So how can you relate swimming to business and fix that synapse together? I think that's what draws people
Well, that's
in
what
and
you're
makes
talking
them
about,
interested.
being the distraction.
Right.
So
exactly.
talking about distraction proof, that's where we're coming from. And as soon as you tell that to somebody, when they say, what do you speak about? I speak about overcoming distractions. The immediate response is, oh boy, I could really use that. And that's the
Right.
exact response I'm looking for.
Yeah, see, the only
Right.
preparation in life I have is preparation H. And at least I can relate that to the audience.
Yeah, that mentally for us is a big distraction. Thinking about that.
Distractions nowadays are just that's a major thing for me, and in the last year I've found myself doing certain things to help my productivity with regard to eliminating distractions. And some of the things I did, for example, I turned off all the notifications on my phone. I don't get beeped every time I get an email on my cell phone, and then I get the same email on my desktop, and you can turn off those notifications, and then I've got my cell phone actually, the only notification I get is my cell phone actually goes off and beeps every hour. But that's an alert for me to kind of pull back, stand up, walk around, and go, okay, am I working on the most important things that I should be focusing on today, my vital functions? And so the distractions, oh my God, it's just, I read an article actually it's in this month's Success Magazine by Mel Robbins, and I've heard this before, but she put it up really well, is that first thing in the morning, don't go look at your inbox. That's just everybody else's agenda for your day.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
and
we've gotten into a routine that we would confuse responding with thinking.
Right.
And we're response driven right now. And especially with what you were saying about the PDAs, people are just getting too used to responding instead of thinking through different situations. But I'm a big fan of time blocking.
Yes.
And a lot of people just sort of roll their eyes when you say that, but if you think about it from day one, right through to when we were 24, 25 and left college, we lived the first 24 years in a time block environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about college, when you think about high school, when you think about elementary school, there were certain times to do things and certain times where you didn't do them. But we got everything done. And then at 25, we rock out of college and we enter an environment that is so full of distractions. and we think we're all growing up, we don't need to have a structured time block system anymore, and we struggle. And the planet now has access to us, not just 1 or 2 people. We were also told as young people it's polite to listen. Well, that was fine when 1 or 2 people could have access to you. Now it's the world. And so how do you politely say, I don't need to hear this, and carry on? So yeah, these are big issues. That
I
people
didn't think
struggle
I had enough distraction. I had to sign up for your junk mail.
Right. Yeah. That on my newsletter.
No, yeah, good stuff. Okay, this second trivia question, we're going to cut to commercial break, is kind of almost right up your alley there. With 34 seconds left, Joe Montana threw the winning touchdown to which 49er in Super Bowl 23? Are you going to be able to answer that one?
Yeah, I really don't care, Edward. It was the 49ers in Montana I was watching that led me to...
Cost you a
to
gold medal.
cost me a
Oh,
gold
I'm
medal.
sorry
So
about that.
Montana still owes me. If you're still listening, Joe.
Okay, the first 3 callers with the correct answer are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. With just 34 seconds left, Joe Montana threw the winning touchdown to which 49er in Super Bowl 23? Call 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, your email address, and speak slowly and spell out each letter at a time, please. And we will be right back. Paul, you're such a good sport. I'm surprised you don't reach over and go,
Yeah, right?
Stop
Stop
rubbing
rubbing
it
it
in.
in. You're killing me.
Go ahead and take your headphones off because he likes to know when it's break time.
Yeah.
See, you see my...
I'm going
see,
for it now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm wearing shorts this time.
So
Yeah,
what time
it's-
is this on tomorrow?
1
1
o'clock.
1 o'clock.
1
Yeah.
o'clock.
And
On the
TV
radio?
On the radio. Well, no,
9:10.
TV will be probably in a month or so. He has to edit it.
Why don't you attach that to your Speedos, big boy? And show us.
Break the camera, right?
You know, I know to time block, and yet I'm so poor at doing it. And
It's
you know,
tough.
it is, and I've listened to so many time management success gurus, entrepreneurial gurus, people who basically like you coach in this field, and
Yeah.
I've heard everything from 90-minute all the way down to 30-minute time blocking, and every number in between from people who practice it.
Yeah.
And it almost doesn't matter whether it's 30 minutes or 90 minutes. It's just if you do it,
Yeah.
and the effectiveness and the productivity, the change in productivity, and that's what's amazing.
Yeah, because then you allocate the next time block to doing a task.
Yeah.
And you've set 50 minutes, and all of a sudden, because you're just focused on that one task, you're done in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it frees up.
Right, because there's the
productive.
study that did every distraction costs you 11
That's right.
minutes.
That's right. Yeah. And that's
So-
coming back on to what you're...
Well, last time when you were on, we were talking about, how long should you spend looking at your emails? And I'm going, well, what, an hour? And you go, like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, like 5 minutes.
I can't look at 110 emails in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. I know, and that was kind of the point where, I always made it a point to respond to every valid inquiry to me
Yeah.
that was drawn from my marketing that's about my business. But
Sure.
lately I'm getting so many from like Southern California where I don't live that I can't spend an hour a day
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
no, sorry, no, sorry, no,
Right.
sorry.
See, I
no,
keep
sorry.
spending time on
Makes sense.
the guys who want money in Nigeria.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for
Oh,
you to
right.
win.
Really?
Yeah.
50 million?
Yeah.
But you must wire it today.
That's
Yeah,
right.
like now.
Here's my
Yeah.
account, please wire.
Okay, when we get back, because I forgot to ask how people can get a hold of you to
Sure.
want you for speaking engagements.
Yeah.
We'll do that, and we'll get right into email time. We'll figure out what you want to do for the fourth.
Okay, sounds good. I've got an article for it before.
And it's funny because I've listened to Armstrong and Getty, and I
Yeah.
like what they do with Steve Moskowitz, where they just kind of, it's like it's basically his commercial.
Right, he calls in and they ask him questions.
Yeah, it seems like it's a normal thing, but
Yeah.
it's a commercial.
But he's been doing that call-in banter with the radio hosts for like 30 years. I remember him doing it way back when.
But yeah, rather than just a
On-
regular
on-
commercial,
yeah,
so we should talk
when
about.
I first started looking, exactly, okay.
All right, you guys ready?
Ready.
We're ready.
Ready.
Okay. Here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt of Pacific Private Money, Brian Burke of Practice Capital, and our guest, Paul Kingsman, 1988 bronze medal winner. And when we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. With just 34 seconds left to go, Joe Montana threw the winning touchdown to which 49er in Super Bowl 23?
Come on, Brian, you know that.
Oh yeah, I'm a big football fan. Don't know.
Mr. NASCAR. No. Anybody?
Jerry Rice.
No, that's what that.
D. White Clark.
No. That was back.
Oh,
in
you thought you
1991.
had it too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh.
John Taylor. You remember that one?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
You're
what you
thinking
get
about
poorly.
that. Well, that wasn't a Super Bowl he threw to Dwight Clark. That was the catch.
All I need to work on my listening skills.
Yeah. And Paul, before we're going to still have you in the studio, but if people want to call you to have a speaking engagement,
Yes.
how do they get a hold of you?
They can email me at paul@paulkingsman.com. paul@paulkingsman.com.
Okay. And stick around because we're getting into email time here. Mark, we received an email from an interesting listener here. It says, how do you protect your investor from a fraudulent borrower? That's a pretty darn good question.
Yeah, and it's one that we get frequently. So I'm president of Pacific Private Money. We are a private money lender, also known as a hard money lender here in the Bay Area. We're based in Marin. Been in business for about 5 years, and we're one of the more prolific private money lenders in the Bay Area. In fact, I'm pretty sure we do more loans per month than any other Bay Area private lender, and I think we do that high a volume because of our, among other things, our investors really like our loans and our note investors, and because I think we do a stellar job of underwriting.
And you're not greedy.
Well, and that helps too. Well, that gets the borrower volume coming your way when you're not charging, a huge amount of points, and you're trying to get a fair interest rate for private money, that is, for your borrowers.
And you're paying a good interest rate to your
So we get a lot of loan applications, and so what's great today is that we have a lot of technology at our disposal. So every borrower that comes to us, even though in the old days of hard money lending, it was called hard money because it was equity-based lending, meaning you were going after the asset. And really, as long as the owner of the property could fog a mirror and sign a set of loan docs, you really didn't care.
Yeah, 'cause
about
you said, hey,
that
I want the
person.
property.
That's
Right,
called the
you got
loan-to-own strategy,
loan-to-own.
Right.
right?
Now that still holds true because, again, we're not making high percentage loans. The highest percentage we generally go to is 65% of today's market value. But most of my investors, they're using their self-directed IRAs or their life savings, and they're looking at making a loan to a perfect stranger. Yes, they're going to get between 8 to 10% interest on that money, which is fabulous, but still it is their life savings or their IRA monies, and they want to know that they're going to get paid their monthly interest as promised, and that they're not going to have trouble and have to go foreclose, because generally most of my investors really don't want to own that real estate. They just want to make the return that they can by making a loan to a real estate investor who's going to make a profit on that property. So what we do is we always do a credit check, no matter what. And I have a few borrowers that complain about that. I said, look, this is what we do. We don't make loans based on your FICO score, but I want to know what your credit profile looks like. I want to know that we're kind of...
There's not 15 judgments against
Right,
you.
right.
Yeah.
Collections.
Have a history of getting loans,
Yeah.
not paying
Or
back.
you're late
Right.
on a lot of other things,
Yeah.
and if you're going to be late on your credit card and your loan payment and stuff, you're probably going to be late on my loan, and I just want to know that in advance so I can make a value judgment and know
Good
who
point.
I may not present it to certain types of investors who have a general expectation.
But then you also, from the standpoint of protection, you also get title insurance.
Well, we get, right, and so the next thing we do, so we do the credit check. I also do a background check. I've got access to the same type of facilities that private investigators can. It costs a lot of money, and we have to qualify for it, but we have that at Pacific. So we do a background check based on their name, date of birth, social, and all that. So that tells us stuff that wouldn't appear in a credit report.
Like he's a convicted felon for financial fraud.
Yeah. Well, no, that's exactly
These are the kinds
right.
of things you'd want to know.
We have discovered some very interesting things that have caused us to pass on certain loan applications.
We denied your loan, but the police are on their way.
And then the other protections that are part of making a loan they're essentially the same protections that Bank of America has when they make a loan to you on your home. You get there's a recorded deed of trust. There's title insurance by a title insurance company that is insuring your first lien position on that property. There's hazard insurance with the lender's name on it. So a lot of our lenders do lend in their personal name or the name of their IRA. So there's a deed of trust in their name. There's the hazard insurance in their name. There's the title insurance. So there's an awful lot of protections. It's one of the a lot of people believe trust deed investing, as they call it, is one of the best kept secrets in investing today. Because 8 to 10% is a fabulous yield to get for what many consider to be a very an investment with safety and security features that are much stronger than a lot of investment opportunities out there.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
If people want more information, they should go to my investor website at Pacific Private Investments. That's plural, pacificprivateinvestments.com, or go to the Investment Investing website and click on Pacific Private Money there.
Very good. And Brian, we got an email here from someone who asked, have you ever purchased a property and had a negative surprise? What did you do in that circumstance?
That's a good question.
You drive up and, whoa, there's no house.
Right. Yeah, that could happen, I suppose. For the listeners that don't know what I do for a living when I'm not giving Mark and Edward a bad time on the radio show, I'm the managing director of Praxis Capital. We're a real estate private equity firm, and we purchase and rehabilitate and either resell or rent residential real estate in Northern California and a few other states as well. So yeah, after having bought about 400 or 500 houses, there's no way you can do that without having a few surprises along the way. And I have a
mother-in-law comes with the house.
We've had a few. I've had people living in the attic. That was an interesting one. I always say that there's really no such thing as problems in business. They're all just classified as expenses. So you just really have to figure out how much.
It still costs money.
Everything is just how much is it going to cost to fix
That's
it.
True.
And it's no different in real estate investing. You get out to the house and you find that the termites ate the floor out. That's an expense, and you'll have to account for that. And maybe you didn't know that going into it. And I think that's one of the important reasons why investing, especially if you're buying houses at foreclosure auctions, where you don't get the opportunity to do a complete inspection of the house. You don't get an opportunity to do a pest report or a professional home inspection. So it's a business that isn't really for the faint of heart or for the inexperienced. And it's one of those do not try this at home kind of businesses. And after having done a few hundred of them, you get pretty good at identifying those surprises before they materialize and in addressing them when they materialize. And it's not an if, it's a when.
Well, and I went to a presentation you did years ago, Brian. I think it may have been the first time I heard you speak, and you were showing a bunch of before and after photos of properties that you had rehab that you had bought at the courthouse steps.
Yeah.
And the one that got the audience in stitches was before, there's a house. After, it was a lot of dirt.
A vacant lot.
You didn't have those pictures backwards, right?
That's right. Yeah, and then I had an after where we had built a brand new duplex
true.
on the property. So eventually it looked pretty good. But
How much did you buy that property for?
Oh, I think we paid about $40,000 for it, and this was back in 2005 when when the peak of the market, a lot was worth $100,000. So we knew we couldn't lose even if we had to tear the house down. And unfortunately, we got there and found out we did have to tear the house down. There wasn't anything salvageable, but at the end of the day, we built a great duplex on it, and it made a great profit on it as well.
So it was still profitable.
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah,
I guess in
we
05,
made quite a bit of money on that one.
I wonder if that would be profitable today. Cause that's
No.
over. Yeah.
No, it wouldn't, because the problem today is there's no way you could actually construct a structure like that for less than you could sell it for, and that's the problem. And I think we'll get into that in the next segment of the show.
Yeah.
Is the disconnect between the cost of constructing real estate or real property now versus its value, and there's a big disconnect.
They still haven't come back to that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just before we cut to our third and final trivia question, commercial break. We're going to have another special contest next week.
Awesome.
And next week we're going to have a special giveaway of 2 nights at the Vichy Springs Resort. And
Nice.
Vichy Springs, yeah, it's the
Ukiah.
best. That's right. It's the best of 2 worlds. A country inn and a hot springs resort with 26 rooms and cottages that include their world-famous naturally warm and carbonated mineral baths. Sounds
What do I
good.
know?
Wouldn't that be great? I could use that right now. Hot soaking pool, Olympic-sized swimming pool, and 700-acre private
you heard
reserve.
that.
Yeah, for walking and exploring. Breakfast is included, as are all the resort activities. Vichy Springs is just 2 hours north of San Francisco and 1 hour north of Santa Rosa in the North Coast wine country. And here is our third and final trivia question. One of the most exciting catches occurred when Eli Manning threw the ball to this receiver who caught it against his helmet in Super Bowl 42. Who was the receiver? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. One of the most exciting catches occurred when Eli Manning threw the ball to this receiver who caught it against his helmet. Everyone remembers that in Super Bowl 42. Even Brian remembers that. Okay, who was the receiver? Make sure to include your name, email address, and please speak slowly and spell out each letter for us, and we'll be right back. Okay.
Awesome.
Barney Oakfield.
You're just making stuff up
He
now.
is.
I am
He
not.
knows the answer to that one.
I dare you to look
Is it
that up on the
Plaxico?
internet.
No, and that's
always
I
wanna
knew
say
I
that.
knew
I
a
did-
lot of people are gonna guess that.
I always want to say Plaxico Burress, but it was the other guy.
It was the other guy. That's right.
I always say Super Bowl. What sport is that? I'm not
Yeah,
even-
yeah.
Is that curling, where they
Curling,
have that little
that's right.
bowl that they try to get from one side to
It's
the other?
a stone that they roll.
Stone.
Oh, a stone, not a
Sweet.
bowl.
Yeah.
So that's the super stone.
Super stone, yeah.
Super stoned.
Well, today is
Yeah.
420 after all, right?
Oh my God, that's right. Oh, and that
I
started,
got this confused.
that
looking.
started in San Rafael too.
Oh, did it
It's-
really?
Yeah,
Why
it
am I
started,
missing?
it's, it's known to have started at San Rafael High, as a matter of fact.
Oh, is that-
And,
Wait,
it
what's
went
that? Wait a
nationwide.
minute. 420.
The comment 420 is I'm gonna go get stoned. Basically.
Yeah, that was the underground
That was
code
the,
word
right,
for
because
Oh my gosh, I
420
forgot about
was
that.
right after the last bell at San Rafael High, and people would go off into the under the bleachers and go get stoned.
You know, when I went to
School
Terra
went
Linda
to
High back in
It
the
did.
70s, I mean, they actually had a smoking section.
Yeah, they did at my high school as well.
No, well,
Yeah.
it's so weird to think about that in
Yeah.
today's environment.
I know, how crazy is that?
They frowned upon getting stoned, but
Just don't get wasted.
No, they
Yeah.
Exactly.
are those funny cigarettes that you have there? Okay, let's see how much
Now you,
time.
now you can't even smoke inside the headquarters of a tobacco company.
That's true.
Oh, that's funny. That's true, isn't it?
They had their smoking section out in the parking lot.
Right, way far away.
Just here. Talk amongst yourselves.
Right, yeah. Just carry on while I do some addition.
Yeah, exactly. I need to take off my shoes and socks to do all this addition.
He's got his abacus out over
Yeah,
here.
I do. I just gotta figure out how much
Good,
seconds. I guess we have.
articles?
The other thing I found was,
It's a pretty good one, so we'll have some fun with it.
yeah, that one is a good one. I had, let's see, North Bay Association of Realtors email came out with Bay Area home sales climbed to the highest level in 5 years. I thought that was interesting.
The area home sales, was that for, was that March? Is that March?
Yeah, I
March
think
report?
it's, well, I don't know.
I
Let me
didn't see it this way, okay, so
let's see.
Anything you want to cover? Because there's
No, fine.
March.
I had one
Yeah.
caller. One
Did you
caller
see the
asked,
business section of the
What would you do with
newspaper today?
$50,000 now?
Fresh Democrat?
No.
What would you do with $50,000?
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah.
On the
Chronicles.
business
alright.
section, there's 2 articles adjacent to one another.
Gosh, it
And
depends
one
on what
article
their
says,
situation is. If they need to save it, what would I
it says,
invest in?
well, let me show you. It's
I
just too
just
funny
stick
to
it
use.
with one, maybe 2 good runs, depending on their time horizon, depending on their age, depending on their.
Yeah. I think I'll
Yeah,
pass.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
all
Yeah,
hard.
I'd pass on it.
It's still for
It's such a
that.
hard
My
question.
kids use
Yeah.
it.
Depends on, where would you invest now? Do you have to withdraw in 2 weeks?
Exactly, it's like a piece of string question. It's like, there are so many other variables around that. And the problem is when you give them
Section
3 or 4 options and they pick one, and they shouldn't have even had any of those options in front of them.
Okay, well, let me change
Like,
it.
give them a
What would
Yeah.
you do with,
description.
what would you do with 60,000?
Yeah, but it's, since I subscribe to the
Yeah.
paper version, it's like,
Yeah.
Oh, now that totally
Yeah.
changes
Yeah.
it now.
Yeah, here we go.
So I might inherit
Home sales
another
lagging.
10,000, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
home sales highest
Yeah, no,
level in
I'm
5
happy
years.
to
2
talk
headlines right
about
next to each
coming on
other.
to property. I
Yep,
spoke
so
with
the US is
to
lagging,
a
but
couple
Bay Area
of global
is
bank
on fire.
It is on fire,
That's
right?
what's
And the
happening.
ones
Right,
that are
yeah.
well-
But it's just kind of funny
That's
when
good, I like
when
that.
you
3
see
or
the
4
2
weeks
contrasting
of
headlines right next to one another.
So that's how.
Guess
that's how
which
much
one is
moving
true?
down.
You're right.
What's the
Yeah,
truth?
yeah.
Hey, guys.
What's
And
fiction?
don't deflect
Exactly.
the real estate stuff to me.
No, but
I
definitely
spoke
make
to a
a
couple
comment.
of real estate groups a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
Coldwell Banker groups down in Palo Alto, and they're dealing with about 4 to 5 weeks inventory.
I
And
know,
they
there's no
never
inventory.
go below 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, there's less inventory now than there was at the peak of the market in
Yeah.
2005.
They get
That's
multiple
crazy.
offers.
And
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask about, after we talked about.
sellers are, the
Yeah.
people who sold already,
Yeah.
like, they'd already dumped, or?
The banks have shut the tap off on the foreclosure volume for a while, I think. I don't think it's going to
That
last.
does-
What
usually some,
can't
what about
last.
the people who, just wanna sell because they wanna sell,
There's just not many of them. There's just not many
Maybe
of them.
people are, maybe people.
So many
feeling
people are
it.
upside down. There
Yeah.
are people who are upside down that are still making their payments that have not decided to screw it. I'm gonna just
Well,
strategically
especially if the
foreclose.
market's starting to kind of turn a little bit.
Now they're saying, well, maybe I can hang on and it'll come back. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
There's
good.
there's a lot of disconnects going on in the market right now.
There
It's kind of
is,
strange.
yeah, it's amazing.
Any other economic news you wanna cover?
Yeah, I've got a
He's got a
article.
thing.
we'll
Okay.
talk. So we've got enough that between those
Okay, good.
topics, we can.
Is there stuff other than
fill it
real
up.
estate too, just to kind of fill in some gaps, stuff, cause.
There is nothing.
I don't know
real estate.
anything other than real estate.
That's the only thing I know.
I'm a one-trick pony, man. It's-
What about all the,
Don't own a lick of stock.
no, the stuff going on with the, Secret Service agents?
Oh my gosh, isn't that hilarious?
Oh, they posted pictures of her. I saw that last night. On,
Did they?
Yeah,
Oh,
on the
which-
Drudge Report, there was a picture of the
Sarah Palin?
bikini-clad woman. No,
Oh,
not
that's the
Sarah
one.
Palin. No, yeah,
That's
that's one
Sarah
too.
Palin?
That's a
Yes,
different
what
one.
about looking up her skirts? I don't know
Oh,
what the
oh, is
Sarah
that
Palin thing.
really?
No, I just
Oh.
was wondering what it was because they were
So I
rude
never
comments
got
about
about that.
how they were checking out Sarah Palin. So I don't know
Yeah.
if it was little mirrors on their shoes or what the deal
Oh,
is.
come on, are you serious? Give me a break.
It goes back in time.
How is it that I know about that?
Yeah, yeah.
I've never tried that at home.
I'm wondering.
Promise.
I knew I was worried about you for some reason.
Okay, did that. All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
Kramer, ready?
Hang on, I'll start this when you're ready.
Oh.
Ready?
Yep.
And now I need to start the other one, and I'll tell you to go.
All right. Go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, Brian Burke of Practice Capital, and our special guest, Paul Kingsman. And when we come to the third and the final commercial break, we asked this trivia question. One of the most exciting catches occurred in, obviously we're talking football here, occurred when Eli
Thanks for
Manning.
clarifying
yeah,
that.
Yeah, I knew I had to do that for Brian. Catches occurred when Eli Manning, you know who he is, right?
No.
Okay. Oh, this is going to be tough. Okay. When Eli Manning threw the ball to this receiver who caught it against his helmet in Super Bowl 42, and you know what Super Bowl is, right?
I commented at the break. Is that curling where they have that bowl that they go from one side of the court
No,
to
that's
the
a
other?
stone.
Oh, a
So
stone.
Super Stone into the
See,
Super
I knew
Bowl.
I knew I wasn't
Okay.
going to get this question.
Okay.
I'm out.
Who was the receiver?
You know, I know it's not Plaxico Burress.
It's not
That's the one
Plaxico Burress.
I want to say.
Anyone?
No.
David Tyree.
Oh,
That's
oh,
right.
That's right.
I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to come right out with it.
Okay. Mark, you said there's some exciting stuff you got.
Well, I always have exciting stuff,
Of
you
course.
know, and exciting real estate stuff. I mean, gosh,
Ooh.
Brian and I are both real estate guys, so, although I guess I can't really use that term because the article I brought is actually from an email newsletter I got today from the guys who call themselves the real estate guys.
I thought we were real estate guys.
Well, we kind of are, but we're not the real
They're
estate
real
guys
estate
in
guys,
quotes,
right.
because they have a little TM by their
Ah.
name. But they have a radio show, and I actually like those guys. I've gone to a number of their events, and they're very, pro real estate, and as are we. And anyway, but it was interesting, so I brought a copy of it. But essentially, what they're saying is now the time to buy single family homes. And of
Well, I
course,
think so.
I've been thinking it's time to buy for this entire downturn, because you can always make money in real estate, in my opinion, if you know how to buy. and
That's
you can
true.
Fix and flip it quickly, but I think these guys are more broadly. The question's more broad: is it really now time to invest in single family homes? Have we hit the bottom? And they talk about how the fact that the billionaires known as Mr. Buffett and Mr. Trump are both
I've heard of
bullish
that.
on real estate right
Yeah.
now, and so the article talks about basically the reasons why, and we've talked about a number of these things. And one we just talked about the last segment: prices are low relative to replacement cost, which we know is not sustainable.
Yeah, it's like 30% in some areas of replacement cost. In fact, we're buying houses now for just over the cost of the building permit.
Mhm.
So never mind even the cost of the wood and other materials that you need to build it, but just to go to the city hall and get the building permit.
Yep.
Which
no,
doesn't
that's
add any value. At least
You're
it
right.
would
No, it doesn't add any
So
value.
that's reason number one, because it's not economically sustainable that houses are going to trade below replacement costs.
No.
It's just eventually it's going to bounce back up at least to replacement cost, and then
or have replacement costs go down, but that doesn't seem like it's
Not
happening.
I
like
don't
Price
think
of
so.
wood.
When was the last time you saw stuff going, half price at Home Depot?
No, you've got
Yeah,
you've
I
got
don't see
rising
that very
commodity costs happening right now with lumber,
And
steel,
labor.
concrete, copper,
Yeah.
et cetera. So that's not likely to happen. The second point they make is rents are high relative to purchase prices, which again we all know that rents have been skyrocketing, and anybody who's out there renting or looking at rentals or looking at the papers and seeing what market rentals are, it's amazing. And inventory of rentals is down.
Very tight. In fact, the single-family vacancy rate in Northern California is less than 2.5%.
Yeah.
So it's really tight. I talk to a lot of people that are out looking for rentals and can't find one. So rents are, even though like this newsletter is saying this, the rents are high, but they're going even higher.
Yeah.
And this has happened at the same time that prices have fallen a lot.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yep.
And then the
one of
third.
those has to change, right?
Prices
Well-
are probably going to go up, is what I think. I don't see any metrics for rents going down.
Well, no, and that the third point they bring up, the foreclosure inventory remains high. And why that matters is because the people who currently live in those homes and are not making their monthly payment, well, eventually they're going to join the renter population.
That's right.
That's exactly what's going to happen. And as they do, there will be even more demand for rentals. So again, that's a good, supply and demand. So
But
it's,
it also means that as an investor that's looking to invest in real estate, it means that there's actually product out there for you to invest in
Right, yeah.
when you're looking to buy something.
So there is product forthcoming. We just don't know when that, whether it's going to come as a tsunami or a trickle. There's
Right.
debate on both sides, but
Yeah, there is.
there's a lot of inventory out there that will eventually come on the market, and those renters need to go. And then the final point is really, interest rates are at record lows. So, that's just
3.1% on a 15-year fixed loan I saw the other day.
That's for owner occupied or?
Yeah, for owner occupied.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Isn't it something?
And so, actually, they do make one final couple of points which are important, and that is inflation benefits real estate investors. And real estate is one of the best hedges against possible future inflation. And there are people out there, most notably Robert Kiyosaki, who I'm told is predicting hyperinflation in 2016. Now, some people think he's wacky when it comes to that. There's notable
what
economists that
percentage would
disagree
that
with
be?
that. What percentage would
yeah.
hyperinflation be?
Yeah.
I have no idea, but just the name scares me.
Probably double digits. Yeah. Well, I think deflation's scarier.
Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, it does make some sense. Real estate prices have been down and depressed for a very long time now. And there's pent-up demand both from the tenant side, being the people that are in houses in foreclosure that are going to become tenants, and on the owner side from people who have doubled up, moved in with friends and family, and are going to eventually be looking to get out into either the rental or owner pool. So there's a lot of kind of stuff steaming on the side over there waiting for the right conditions. And you know how it is. As soon as it starts to happen, it's like a little snowball that starts to roll downhill,
Yes.
and it gets very big very quickly. So you could see how there's a theory that hyperinflation could happen in 2016, and there's probably plenty of things you can do to debunk that theory. But right now, when you look forward, it does make sense that he could make that claim.
And Paul, weren't you saying that you were talking to some Coldwell Banker brokers?
Yeah, talking to a couple of groups down in Palo Alto, and they have about 3 to 4 weeks inventory right now. And I've heard back from a couple of other real
Well,
estate.
wait a minute. 3 to 4 weeks of inventory as of, not 3 to 4
Not
months.
years. Not
Yeah,
years.
that's less
either.
than at the peak of the market.
So there are a couple of offices that I've spoken with that are, actually I beg your pardon, it was 3 to 4 months, that are just tight right now. I mean, there's just nothing out there.
That's
They're
still
getting multiple
amazingly
offers.
tight. That's,
Yeah, 3 to 4 months is ridiculous.
Well,
3 to 4
what-
weeks is it?
Yeah, well, at the height of the market, what was it?
Yeah, at the peak of the market, you were right around in that 3 to 4 month time window. So that's right about where we were. 3 to 4 weeks would be much less, but 3 to 4 months is right about where we were in 2005.
And the 3 to 4 weeks was that if there was not another home bought to them at the rate that they'd been moving through.
Well, the other thing too is when you segregate it out by price bracket. In the lowest price tier, say under 200,000 in a lot of markets outside of the core Bay Area counties, that market is extremely tight because the investors are really flooding into that market and picking up that product. When you start to get into the over or the $600,000 to $800,000 price bracket has a higher level of inventory because that market isn't quite as active. So when you break it down and you slice it up, there's components of the real estate market that are extremely tight, in fact almost impossible to get into. And you hear a lot of real estate agents talking about taking clients out on tours to find houses that just coming up dry.
Yeah. Well, for the benefit of the listeners, what we're really talking about is we've got a ton of what's called shadow inventory or foreclosure inventory, and that's really defined as essentially people that aren't making payments on their homes, they're already in default, banks file a notice of default, or possibly the bank has even already foreclosed and owns that property. But that property's not coming on the market, and there just isn't a lot of new inventory coming on. So
what are the banks doing?
Well, the banks are actually trying to set the market. They're making the market right now. They've decided they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot by releasing a ton of inventory, so that prices will further decline, which is why a lot of people now believe, based on what the banks are doing, that we've pretty much hit bottom, and in fact, prices are already beginning to creep up in certain Bay Area markets.
How long will it take the banks to release all that inventory?
Well, if it takes 5 years or 10 years, it's if that's the business.
One of the things they're doing now is they're putting them out in bulk packages. B of A is just announcing they're going to put out a bulk package of houses and just sell it off to one large investor. So they're trying to even liquidate that way to speed up the process, and that's going to keep these houses off the market. So it's never going to impact the market.
They'll just be rentals?
They'll be
rentals, yeah.
It'll be rental inventory
Right.
for large hedge funds.
Which, as we talked about, the rental demand is pretty high, so it makes some sense.
Yeah, if they can purchase it at the right price.
Right.
All right, we are going to go to our thoughts for the day. Paul Kingsman, again, thank you for joining us in the studio. We'll definitely have you back on. Maybe you'll train for another Olympics, and then we can. No. Okay. All right. In 1949, Popular Mechanics said that computers in the future may weigh no more than 5 tons. I guess they haven't seen my old Commodore 64 in my closet. Okay.
Or the iPhone.
Or the iPhone, yeah. And in 1977, there were 37 Elvis impersonators. In 1993, there were 48,000. At this rate, by the year 2013, 1 out of every 3 people will be an Elvis impersonator. Thank you very much. Do you like that? Thank you very much. Okay. Tune in next week to the Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. And our guest next week will be Peter LaCour, who specializes in municipal bonds. He's going to educate us and give us tips. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing. So long.